You're tired of guessing and you want answers now. In today's session, I'll be giving you some guidance as to how you can finally stop guessing about how to manage your chronic condition, how to reverse your autoimmune disease, or take at the very least start taking certain steps so that you can start to create a healing environment and support your body's healing process so that you can start getting better. Right? I know that it's hard to live with any kind of chronic illness simply because we don't really get the answers that we need to start taking better care of ourselves, to start making changes in our life. It is so confusing, right? So I want you to stop guessing as to what's wrong with you. I want you to stop guessing as to what possibly you could do, and I want you to take concrete steps, and I will show you how you can do that, how you will know whether you're heading in the right direction or not, or you need to change your direction. So hang on till the end so that I can share those guidelines with you. But before that, before I get any further, if you would like to know and get some of the answers that you are seeking for, if you would like to know how you can take better care of yourself, how you can manage your chronic illness or autoimmune disease much better, what is it that's keeping you sick, what is it that's at play here, what are the root causes, what are the things that you can do, and of course, the hope that you can get better, right? So I want you to have that kind of confidence in yourself, trust in the process of adopting a root cause approach. And for that, I have carefully selected a list of books, podcasts, websites, blogs, and other resources which will help you to understand what is it that you're dealing with. And this is particularly for those of you who have autoimmune conditions. So if you're one of if you have that, then this resource will be really useful for you. It's in the form of a guide, and it's called Autoimmune Disease 101. This is the research that I have done personally over the last 8 years actually now on this topic and other chronic illnesses, and I put them together in the form of a guide, and I've already started sharing with some of you. I will be putting the link below, and you can click on that and you will be getting that free. It's a free resource, it's a free guide, and it's called Autoimmune Disease 101. So, if you're watching this on live, and feel free to say hi and post your questions as I go along. I'll be sure to answer them. If you're watching this on replay, you can still post your questions in the comments, and I'll make sure that I get back to you. And if you're listening to this on a private audio feed, then head on to my Facebook page, Nourish Heal Connect, and you can get your questions answered there. So the first thing that I want to sort of talk about today is confusion, right? Confusion about which disease do I have, and this is particularly true for autoimmune diagnosis because the immune system is quite complex. And what happens is that we have a basket of symptoms that when we have this basket of 18 symptoms, we have named it one particular disease. Then we have a basket of maybe 25 symptoms that we have named as another disease, and then we have a basket of maybe 30 symptoms that we have named as another disease. That's typically how at a very basic level. Of course, it's more complicated than this, but that's how we have different diseases. But unfortunately, that does not tell you why is it that you are not doing so great, why is it that you're still sick, what you can do about it, what are the root causes behind your disease diagnosis, and most importantly, it does not tell you anything about how you can get better, right? It just gives you the name, and of course it gives you the treatment, it provides you the medications that you need to stop further damage, tissue damage, especially this is particularly in the case of autoimmune conditions where there is ongoing tissue damage because your immune system is creating antibodies towards any particular type of body tissue, or maybe it's a systemic issue. but there is, at the end of it, there is a kind of confusion as to what's really going on. It might be that you're still looking for a diagnosis, right? And this is why it's so hard to get a diagnosis, and it takes sometimes several months, if not years, to get a proper diagnosis and a proper treatment. There can be also it might be that you have a whole host of unexplained symptoms, right? You have a diagnosis, but you also have a whole host of unexplained symptoms which nobody is able to sort of tell you why is it that you have them and what is it that you can do about them, right? And so these are very, very common in chronic illnesses, in particular when the immune system is involved, any kind of immune dysregulation. And we are basically constantly looking for answers which we don't get in the conventional medicine field, because unfortunately that's more of a disease management approach, and I'm going to talk about that a bit in a while. But this is where you are right now, right? You are looking for answers. You're trying to figure out what is it that will help you get better, and the confusion about which direction you want to move towards. And so that's maybe where you are right now. And the thing is that there are so many steps that you can take, there are so many changes that you can make in your life to start getting better, and start getting better fast. And not way, what happens otherwise, you're wasting a lot of your time, a lot of your energy, just doing round of medical treatments, hospital visits, doctor visits, medications, one medication after the other. I completely get this, because this is exactly what happened to us many, many years ago, wherein um, wherein we had the same problem, that we were dealing with our daughter's severe health issues, and because of that, we basically were going from doctor to doctor trying to get some kind of relief, which we did with some of the strong immunosuppressive medications, but no long-term solution as to what could possibly at play, or how could we basically get her off those medications. Why is it that she had this kind of disease when everybody else in the family was okay? So there were a lot of questions, and there were no answers to that. And it took us a long time, it took me a lot of time to do the research that I needed to do to get here. And I'm going to share with you a few key ways, so that that you don't have to wait for others to give you the answers. You can start finding some of these for yourself at a very basic level, at a very foundational level. But believe me, that foundational level is key to long term health creation, right? um, so, and also key to start feeling better and getting better. It's not about getting the kind of treatments and just managing your symptoms. It is about addressing the imbalances, the nutrient deficiencies, and anything else that is, maybe there's a chronic infection going on, anything that is at play here, so that you can actually start getting better soon, right? And the reason that we struggle with getting these answers, because the traditional approach is more of disease management, where it looks at the disease and not at the person who has the disease. So it would not look at you, your lifestyle, your diet, your thoughts, your environment, everything which has a role to play in this. It only looks at what disease you have and what are the symptoms and how do we manage it, right? So this is the difference between having a disease management kind of an approach vis-a-vis root cause approach, which we practice in functional medicine. Functional medicine, again, it's a new standard of medicine, which I do not like to call alternative medicine, simply because it is the gold standard to to dealing with chronic illness. And again, remember that it's never either or. There will be times you will need medication, you will need a traditional approach where you are undergoing obviously some kind of treatment to help you live with the disease, to help you stop further damage. But at the same time, you can start making changes in your life, in your diet, in your way you manage your stress, to start getting better by taking a root cause approach. So it's not either or, it's typically a combination that works well. So it's about creating a healing environment, because the traditional approach does not really equip you to create a healing environment. But in a root cause approach, you are encouraged to do whatever it takes to make sure that your environment is conducive to your body's healing process. So which means that you address areas like diet, because we look at food as medicine. We know that in traditional systems of healthcare, like Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, and even now naturopathy, etc. That these are, food is medicine. It has information. It there is an entirely new field called nutrigenomics. It affects how your cells respond. It affects the expression of your genes, which is what nutrigenomics is all about. So how what your diet is has a huge role to play in how you manage your chronic condition. Also, not supporting your body's healing process, which means that you might need more rest now. You might need to change your bedtime routine. There's so many things. You might need to incorporate some kind of breathing practice. Maybe there are certain foods that you need to avoid. Maybe there are certain foods you need to add. This is what I mean by supporting your body's healing process. And make no mistake, your body has an innate ability to heal. And what is not going to help you for sure is by having an attitude of being at war with your body. You are not at war with your body. Your body is your friend, and it's trying its best to support you. It's trying its best to keep you alive, which is why a lot of these symptoms are a kind of a message which you may or may not really have paid attention to earlier, but you need to start paying attention now, right? And a lot of these symptoms, especially the initial minor ones, which we uh, tend to ignore many times, they are a kind of message from our body telling us that we need to stop and start paying attention and start taking some kind of action. Because eventually what happens that when we don't do this, and this goes on for years if not decades, then we do and we can end up with a disease diagnosis. So it's that's what I mean by uh, supporting your body's healing process, right? And if you can do it right at the beginning, but even if you have not done that earlier, even if you start today, even then you can actually start getting better, by doing all of this. So start listening. So now these are some of the action steps that you can take. So the first thing that you can start doing is to start listening to your own body's intuition, which comes in the it's constantly communicating with you, and it's using the symptoms to do that. So in functional medicine, we say that a headache is a blessing. By that we mean that a headache is kind of a way for us to stop and actually listen and pay attention and get into the habit of listening to what our body is trying to tell us. Whether in the case of a headache, is it a lack of sleep, is it not getting enough water, is it because our vision has gotten worse? What is it that your headache is trying to tell you, or is it something else? In fact, just a week or so ago, I usually don't have any kind of headaches, and a couple of days I had this very mild headache in the morning, and I was trying to figure out, rather than medicating, I was trying to actually figure out what is it that my body was trying to tell me. And I don't have that anymore. It was just like 1 or 2 days, but I basically figured out that one, I was not having enough water. I was actually a bit tied up at that time. Secondly, I was not sleeping at my usual time. And I know that my body needs about 8 hours to function optimally, and I'm usually very mindful of intentional about when I sleep. And some of these things basically actually helped, and that's what my headache under control. So this is what I mean by listening to your body's messages and paying attention to the foods. The second thing that you can start doing is paying attention to the foods that you're eating today. Even if you don't make any change, just by noticing how you feel, just maybe two things. One is that if you have any symptoms that you notice after having a particular meal, and try and figure out whether it was any aspect of the meal which did not suit you. Or you can also track your energy levels, whether you feel more fatigued, whether you feel more energetic after having a particular meal. And you can also track your mood. because your food affects all of these aspects. So maybe if you want to just track your mood and understand whether you feel more irritable, whether you feel more relaxed after having a particular meal. So all of these things, can help you to stop finally guessing about how you can manage your chronic illness, right? So the first thing I mentioned was start by listening to your body's messages, which is in the form of symptoms, and try to figure out why is it that you are having this, even if you start with the smallest of the symptoms, like I mentioned, like a headache. The second thing I mentioned was to start paying attention to the foods that you're eating and how is it affecting your mood, how is it affecting your energy level, if there are any symptoms that you have noticed which are cropping up after having the same thing. And the other thing is start with the basics, right? Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to figure out and trying to get the latest testing done and getting all the research in the world will not really help you unless you lay the foundation for long-term health creation. And by that I mean just focusing on a few key aspects of our health, which are really important, like sleep. So making sure that you're getting proper sleep. Then food, I already mentioned. So by focusing on whole unprocessed foods, anti-inflammatory foods, which are vegetables and fruits, and see, especially if you are already dealing with an autoimmune kind of diagnosis, then staying away from gluten and dairy. Gluten is found in wheat primarily. It's a protein found primarily in wheat, and research shows that those who have autoimmune conditions are typically have some kind of wheat sensitivity or gluten intolerance, and that is inducing and contributing to the autoimmune disease progression. So that is the first thing that I would ask you to eliminate. The second would be dairy. Dairy is in the form of cottage cheese or paneer, butter, yogurt, or dahi. All of these. It's also anti-inflammatory. It has a whole host of other things. So like the casein, which is a protein, the lactose, which is a problem for most of us to digest, and last but not the least, the hormones that are found in dairy, right? But and also focusing on the right foods, which is your vegetables and fruits, and of course healthy fats and proteins. So these are the areas that I would like you to focus on, because when you start doing this, you will notice that you will start getting the answers, at least at a very basic level, and you will know that you're headed in the right direction when your energy levels start improving, when you start feeling better, when some of your symptoms start going down. This is exactly what happens with my health coaching clients. Even when there's a long way to go, we start seeing a reduction in the symptoms. We start seeing an increasing in energy levels. Our brain fog clears out. There's so many things, improvements that happen just by starting to focus on the foundations. These are women with autoimmune diseases, so they typically have a whole host of symptoms, a whole host of factors at play here. Autoimmune diseases are complex chronic illnesses. So these are some of the aspects that we sort of work on right from the start. So I hope that you found this useful today. If you think that it's going to help someone else, make sure that you share this video with them. And I have these sessions every Friday at 12 right here. And the last but not the least, I'm going to share the link for the very very well curated and comprehensive guide on autoimmune condition. It's a guide which lists down blogs, books, podcasts, websites, and other resources on autoimmune diseases by leading practitioners in the functional medicine field, mostly, and those who are looking at a root cause approach of dealing with chronic illnesses, including autoimmune conditions. And it's a guide that I've put together based on about 8 years of research that I've been doing since 2014, based on our own journey. And I will be sharing the link here. If you would like a copy of that, you can click on that and you will be getting the free download. And I'll see you again soon.